Welcome to Tell Me Exactly. I'm your host, Meridith Jensen. And today I've got a team joining me from the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch. And we're talking about the ETC course. So joining me today is Pam, Eric, and Bonni. Pam, introduce yourself. Say hi.
Hi, Meridith. I am Pam Stewart. I'm Senior Director of Operations at the Academy.
Thanks, Pam, and thanks for being here. Also joining us is Eric Fayad. Hi, Eric. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Meridith. Thanks for having us. And yes, my name is Eric Fayad, and I am the Associate Director of Instructor Services for the Academy.
And last, but of course, certainly not least, is Bonni Stockman. Hi, Bonni.
Hi, Meridith. I'm Bonni Stockman, and I am the ETC Program Coordinator for the Academy.
All right, so let's get down to it. Today, we're talking about the ETC course. So Pam, I'm going to start with you. First of all, what is ETC and how did it get started?
Well, that's an excellent question, Meridith. It originally started in 2001, and it was developed to standardize and enhance the initial baseline training of emergency dispatchers, ensuring that they are well prepared to handle critical and high-pressure situations.
Okay, so we love to use acronyms in this industry. So
we do.
Tell me exactly, what does ETC stand for?
The Emergency Telecommunicator course.
So I know you said that ETC kind of first began in the early 2000s.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the history of ETC.
Sure. We recognize the need for unified and comprehensive training. The International Academy's ETC Board of Curriculum, along with industry experts, collaborated to create and continually evolve the ETC course.
Okay.
The initiative introduced a 40-hour training curriculum covering essential skills such as call handling, crisis communication, dispatcher wellness, and, of course, the use of protocol dispatch systems.
Excellent. And so you have a curriculum board that kind of created all of this back then. Have there been a lot of changes and updates to it over the years, as I can imagine?
There have been not a lot of updates. We're on version 4.1 right now, but those updates have all been very significant with significant enhancements and additions. Technology changes every day.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So it's on a continual evolution.
So that curriculum board is kind of charged with making sure that the ETC course is up to par with the latest and greatest science and research in the industry, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And meeting all of the other national standards. Okay. NFPA 1225. Yeah, the ETC curriculum board is amazing. They are currently working on the next update. They've been putting in some very serious hours.
Okay, so this ETC curriculum board, who sits on that? Is it members from the International Academy, or is it members from agencies?
Both and all of the above. It is the ETC Curriculum Board is co-chaired by Susie Marsan and Nancy Lockhart. We have industry experts. We have Ty Wooten, who sits on he's our governmental affairs person, and we have people from agencies. We have fire experts, police experts, medical experts, telecommunication experts.
Outstanding. And yeah, you definitely mentioned some heavy hitters. I love the little shout outs to some of those names in the group. Powerhouses in the industry, absolutely. So, yeah, glad to hear that we have some really good industry experts involved with the curriculum on that. So I'm going to move over to you, Eric. Tell me exactly, who is the ETC course for? Who should be attending that course?
Well, that's a good question, and it can vary quite widely at this point in time. What I will say is in the beginning, it was mostly directed for agencies, and in really the ETC, or the Emergency Telecommunicator course, is that course that really builds that foundation, or those building blocks for anybody getting ready to enter into a communications center, but it's a good segue into those discipline-specific courses that will come after the foundationals, the foundational pieces. As an instructor, I know when I teach an EMD or an EFD class, which is what I teach, I can tell when they've had ETC prior to coming to my course, because they do have that general knowledge and that baseline and that foundation to build on. I was going to say, not to say that someone who doesn't have that does not perform as well. We have most of our students, and the way their courses are built and with our instructors, they do very well. Mm-hmm. But you can tell the difference when somebody has gone through the ETC program first, or the ETC course, versus not having had that background before they started into the discipline-specific courses.
Right. And so let's talk a little bit about that, because I can imagine now, I know we're seeing kind of a trend in the industry of people coming into this job not having experience at all in public safety. So I'm sure that the ETC course is probably designed to help with that, right?
It is designed to help with that. It not only talks about, it covers telecommunications and emergency telecommunications, but it covers the basics of fire, medical, police, very foundational pieces. It covers the foundational pieces of technology. It covers the foundational pieces of the legal side of everything. It covers telecommunication essentials, talking to callers, how to talk to them, what type of tools to use with callers, the stuff that when we get into it, like let's say, for example, an emergency medical dispatch course, we are all protocol.
Right.
And they don't get that as part of that. If they don't get it in an ETC course, then they're getting it on the job. And they're getting it on the job regardless, but it's nice to have that foundation first before we even get into the discipline-specific pieces. And I think it just empowers them going into the comm center with more knowledge, more information, more of a baseline. Just like you said, a lot of our students now, especially now that we're pushing into the high schools and, career and technical education centers, not everyone has the same type of skills as somebody who's been in the workforce for a period of time. So sometimes just those communication skills, those basic communication skills that we don't have time to teach in the discipline-specific side, this course really gets to dig into.
Yeah, I love that. And I can tell you, I remember personally coming into my first EMD course way back umpteen years ago. I won't divulge my age there and saying how many years ago it's been, but I can remember sitting in that course during introductions, and everyone, it was a pretty large class. There were like 15 students that were going through EMD certification, and everyone in the class, when they introduced themselves, I was hearing a lot of, I used to be a paramedic, I was a firefighter, I was a police officer, I used to be a dispatcher at this place or that place. And then it was my turn, and I remember kind of sheepishly raising my hand and saying, I used to work at an elementary school, but I'm super excited to be here. And so, ETC definitely gave me that foundation of how to kind of speak the language coming in, right? And
Absolutely.
Understanding some of the things that, like you said, that we're going to grow and build upon in the EMD and other certification courses. So getting them in the door with some of that basic knowledge. So how does that ETC course then benefit the comm centers? Because I'm hearing that we're kind of targeting, new hires and dispatchers, telecommunicators. How is it going to benefit the comm center overall?
Well, that's a loaded question, Meridith. So there's a couple there's a couple different sides to that, and I'm not going to get too deep into one side of it because I think Bonnie's going to talk about that a little bit. But the first part of it is again, like we've already said, it creates that baseline. So once they get through the ETC program, they get through their medical course, they're in whatever other disciplines that they do, and they get turned over to the training program in their comm center, or maybe they start their actual on-the-job piece of the training. I think it gives them that first set of tools that they can have that maybe a CTO or a preceptor or a trainer doesn't have to. They're not starting from nothing. You know what I mean? It gives them a step forward. I think that it helps a new hire be more successful in the center. They like you said, they do speak the language already, and they know more than just the average person coming into the comm center with no background whatsoever. So I do think it gives comm centers a leg up in their training process. It also allows them to kind of evaluate people as they're going through that process to see, how they're going to fit in the comm center too, what type of preceptor or CTO to put them with. Sometimes that can vary based on somebody's personality, and it just gives them more time to evaluate that.
I love that. So it gives us kind of metrics, right, to measure them coming in the door from the street, from whatever previous experience they have or didn't have coming into this. It gives us a way to kind of measure where to put them, as you say. So I love that.
Well, and I think the main goal is, any training program anywhere, the goal is to set people up for success, right? And
absolutely.
So this is, we've all got our toolboxes, and who doesn't want more tools in there? So this is just another tool to add to that toolbox that hopefully will lead them down that road of having a successful career in a communications center.
Okay, so Eric, we talked about how ETC kind of first came to fruition back in the early 2000s, and Pam kind of guided us through how it has evolved over the years. I'm hearing a lot of scuttle about how amazing this course is, and that we have a lot of participations with agencies using this with their new hires. So tell me a little bit about where we're at today with it.
Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about kind of how we got to where we're at today. On the instructor side of things, we realize, and I don't know if everybody knows this, so maybe these are just some fun facts, but with Academy Instructor Services, we have more ETC instructors than any other discipline.
Yeah.
We're pushing, and not just instructors, active instructors. We're pushing almost 1,000 active ETC instructors that we have right now. And believe it or not, we teach more ETC courses than anything else. On any given day, you may have up to 40 or 50 ETC classes going on at some time somewhere in the world, because it's not just, ETC has pushed even into other countries, and I don't know if everybody knows that. So, with the amount of instructors, we kind of realized we need somebody that can just focus on them, and so we wound up bringing Bonni on and just focusing on that group of people. There's so many that we want to be able to touch them all, and most of them are in-house. So, they become instructors, and then they go teach in their center, or not their centers, but in their centers or now in high schools or career and technical education programs, and they don't get a lot from us. So that's one area that we recognized we needed to fill that gap. What was interesting when we hired Bonni is that, or when we brought her on in that position, is that I think it was simultaneously or right around that same time that the Academy, our ARC or research side, had partnered with NASDM, and that study came out, the survey, America's Workforce is in Crisis. The results of that study had come out. So as that came out, we realized that, yes, there are staffing shortages that are occurring across really the world at this point, and that our traditional methods we were using to recruit and retain people wasn't working like it used to. Different things motivate people to either come or stay. So, once Bonni came on and we started having conversations about that, and it kind of, the light bulb went off, like, wait a minute, I think there's more we can do here. And we started looking at the ETC program, and there are a couple programs out there where it's going in the high schools, and it's basically feeding people or creating a pipeline into the comm centers. So we started looking at that, and we realized that, like, okay, I think we can help here. There's there's things that we can do. And luckily we had brought Bonni on. So we had somebody that actually had the time and we could dedicate to just working on that kind of stuff. So Bonni has been instrumental in getting this thing going. And we're really at the beginning. We're just walking through the door right now. We're not even in the room yet. I think this is it's blowing up, but I think it's really going to blow up at astronomical levels as time goes by here. So I know Bonnie's here, and I'll let her talk about what she's doing, because she's really doing a lot of the work to get this going, and it's really revolutionary. And I think it's good to be responsive. That survey and the results of it came out, and we took note of it and started thinking, and it's we realized that maybe we have an answer, or at least something that will help bridge that a little bit.
So a couple of the things that you spoke about that I want to touch on, again, kind of going back to our listeners and what their takeaways are for this this episode, is that agencies can spin up someone in their own center to be an instructor for ETC for the new hires, right? We know that
absolutely
staffing is becoming kind of a revolving door these days in 911 centers. So just making sure that our listeners know that is a huge benefit to their comm center, that they can spin someone up to be an instructor for their own new hires.
Absolutely. Yeah. They can teach it in-house, which is a great advantage to a comm center.
I love it. So Bonni, I am dying to hear from you about some of the new and exciting things that are coming with the ETC course now that you are steering the ship.
Oh, thanks, Meridith. So one of the things that we all spoke about was the staffing shortage and how we could do our part from the Academy to assist with that. And that led us into the high schools and the community colleges and the VOTECs, because that is the next generation to enter the workforce. And the idea was if we could introduce these courses, the ETC course, into the high school, that the students would have their senior year to look at it, to feel it, to listen to it, and to really touch it before they ever had to make a decision to enter into the workforce. And so that, we believe, is what will help the comm centers, because that way these students are actually choosing this career before they ever step foot in the door. And we looked back at several people in the industry and talked to them, and we heard this. We heard that there were several that started at a very young age, and so it inspired us to reach out to the high schools. And although there are hundreds of high school teachers out there doing it right now, we wanted to hear from them and to support them and their students in how we could move forward and partner them with agencies. And that is where we're going. We are working on partnering agencies to high schools to agencies, and getting telecommunicators involved in helping with that training as well. And so these students will actually get to really get a strong feel for what it is to be an emergency telecommunicator.
I'm so excited to hear about that. That sounds like a really perfect way to, introduce this to people as a career option. Because I can tell you right now, I can remember back to high school. Again, we're not going to talk about how many years ago that was. But I'm not sure that I myself was even aware of 911 being a career option for me, right? And so I love that we're out there in these high schools sharing what a valuable career this is with those impressionable students that maybe don't know what they want to do in the future, but they sort of know that they want to do something that helps people, something that is, fast-paced and exciting, and something that is also very stable. So I love that we're out there doing that.
Right. And the other thing is that we can use their technical skills.
Oh,
and so I think that is a huge asset for us in the field, because of the way technology is moving. And these students have had technology since they were in kindergarten. So I think it's a win-win for everyone. And the other thing that I really feel strongly about is that these students are also getting an education into what it's like to call 911 and the importance of the job that these 911 emergency telecommunicators do, and how to access it.
Yeah, so it's kind of a win-win. We almost are getting both sides there of the education piece of, what 911 is and how to be a good caller if you ever have to call 911, and then also come work for us, right? Because we need good people in those seats. So talk to me about how to become an ETC instructor, because we know that this program is one of the largest of our current instructor pools. And we know that we also need some really good people in the chairs teaching this. So talk to me about how, if anybody's listening and interested in becoming an ETC instructor, what's the pathway for that?
So the pathway to become an instructor is you can go on emergencydispatch.org onto our website, and you can go what we do, and then click on the instructor tab. There's information in that tab for ETC. The other thing is you can reach out to any of us, Pam, Eric, or myself, and we'll happily walk you through the process. You'll need to take the core course if you have not been in a comm center before and have that actual knowledge behind you to teach it. And then if you have, you can take our instructor course, which is online, and we can give all that information to you. But it's just a great way to continue your education as well. So once you've taken the core course of the Emergency Telecommunicator, then you can go, and we offer the Emergency Telecommunicator Instructor remote online, and that's a course that you will take, and it will teach you the principles of what we teach, and also tips for teaching in the adult ed world.
Okay, and then what are the prerequisites to become an ETC instructor? Are there requirements?
So the requirements are that you are, there's two sides of the house, Meridith. So there's the agency side, and then there's the high school side or community college side. So I'll just kind of put them together, but the background we want is that you have a communication center background, or that you are a trainer, or that you were in the field, such as law enforcement, EMS, or fire, and that you did have a background in the comm center as well. We want to make sure that they're comfortable with the workings of a comm center before we put them into an instructor course.
Okay. And so then let's talk about where we see the ETC course in the coming years. What do you see for the future of this program?
So for me, my vision is that we will have it in high schools, and that from ETC we can continue to draw on their education and offer up discipline courses so that they can be well prepared to go into a comm center. And with that, the comm centers will be able to save training dollars for things that have to be done in a comm center. And then to develop it out into the community college, into their criminal justice programs, and to eventually create our own under the public safety umbrella, our own 911 arena.
Excellent. So for those of our listeners that, again, are interested in launching a program like this at their agency, is there a way, do we have somebody in place that will help them kind of reach out to their local high schools to set up a program? Is that something that you're helping with?
Yes, that's what I do. I help them partner with those agencies, and I work with the agency and with the high school and with the high school students to, if they are interested in the career, to be able to know who to contact. And we've got several going on right now, so we're really excited about that.
Okay, so to wrap up, let's just talk about maybe 3 takeaways for those that are listening to this session and want more information about ETC or have an interest in it. What are the 3 takeaways that you want our listeners to really walk away from this session with?
I would like them to walk away with the fact that our next generation in the high school is where we need to put some focus on and help them to enter into the career, because I feel like that's where we're going to find our...
It's kind of a previously untapped resource of excellent applicants, right? Because as you pointed out, these kids have had technology in their hands since they were old enough to walk, and they're really good at it. And also it might be something that, again, previously they never really considered as a career. So I love that, making sure that they're looking at that untapped resource.
Because I feel like in 911, we're very silent about our career. And most people really don't know what we do or who we are. So I think that's really important for us to get out there and start letting people know who we are.
Right. And the importance of kind of getting out into your community and not being afraid to, really tap some of those resources and get into the high schools. I know that we do have a lot of agencies that probably do, job fairs and things like that. But have they ever considered something like this that becomes almost an orientation for those high school students of what the career and what the job is all about?
Right.
And then it also kind of simultaneously trains them and prepares them. So when someone completes an ETC course in a high school program, what do they walk away with? Are they certified?
Yes, they walk away with an Emergency Telecommunicators certification. It's 40 hours, and it meets and exceeds most state requirements. So the agencies can then take them in and start working with them immediately if that's what they choose to do. And that's what we hope, that they will start doing that, and it'll help the agencies too with their training.
Okay. Are there any bullet points that I've forgotten that we want to make sure we cover during this session?
I think one thing too, to take it a step further with what Bonni was just talking about with the high schools and the career and technical education centers, is kind of like what you alluded to, Meridith. I would encourage comm centers to every single comm center has high school and vocational and technical education centers around them. They may or may not be doing ETC. Probably most of them are not teaching this course right now, especially comm centers that are having turnover issues. But even if they're not having turnover issues, you can see when through attrition people are going to be dropping out of the center. Yeah. So I think it's important, and maybe even the ones that aren't having the turnover issues, which is wonderful if they're not, you start looking ahead, home grow your own people.
Yes.
This is an excellent opportunity. These kids, they're looking for some response. It starts them down that road of, learning more life skills. And Bonni talked about, learning the 911 system, learning what options they have, learning what it means to go into this career. I mean, where else can you step out of high school and walk into a job making, a lot of places, $40,000 or more with government benefits, with a pension in a lot of places still? That's not a thing, anymore without going to college. And let's face it, not all students want to go to college.
Right.
College in my high school days, you went to college. There was no other option. This opens that door for students. Like there are other options here, and it showcases that for them. And what comm center wouldn't want to home grow their own people?
Right.
I just think it's an excellent opportunity.
I love that. Home growing your own people.
And then to take it a step further, don't reinvent the wheel. Bonni is doing this day in and day out with comm centers and, CTE and high schools. She's building this right now. So if it's something that your comm center, if this sounds intriguing to you, reach out to us. Don't reinvent the wheel. We've got the framework. Ask us, and we will help you get this put in place. You don't have to do this on your own.
I love that concept of, building your workforce, home growing your dispatchers, because these are people that are local to your community. So they already maybe know some of the, streets and areas, and they probably, without even realizing it, know some of the things that are going to be unique to how you process calls in 911 locally at your center. And then I love that final takeaway too of, Bonni has already got a lot of resources available to help anyone that's interested in setting this up. We're not asking you to, start from scratch. We've got lots of resources available already to help you get this going. So I guess that final takeaway then is, if you're listening and this is something that you're interested in, please give us a call. Reach out to us. So we'll go ahead and put a link in the show notes of where to get more information, who to reach out to if you're interested in the Emergency Telecommunicators course. So thanks, guys, for joining me. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate the passion and knowledge that you've got for this. And I really hope that we just continue to expand this program and see more and more people becoming ETCs and ETC instructors.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thanth, Meridith.
Thanks, Meridith.
Thank you, Meridith.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, give us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to let us know what you liked and subscribe and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Look for @TellMeExactly to get the latest on all things emergency communications. Tell Me Exactly is a Priority Dispatch Corporation podcast developed by our team of protocol experts and hosted by me, Meridith Jensen, with Cody Ekman as producer, Reading Roberts as sound engineer, Scott Robinson and Jason Barber as executive producers.